Good evening. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming tonight. We're going to launch straight into it so that we have enough time to enjoy Nyani's readings and for you guys to also do some Q&A. I'm Mamle Kabu. I am a co-director of the Writers Project of Ghana. And this evening we have Nyani Nkrumah, who is joining us from the US. She's on a visit to Ghana. We are really pleased that she agreed to read for us for our monthly series, Ghana Voices, while she's here. Nyani Nkrumah was born in Boston and grew up in Ghana, West Africa, and later Zimbabwe. Her love of writing comes from her mother, who we're privileged to have with us tonight. Many of you know her, the great Mrs. Nkrumah, a former English and literature teacher who entertained her kids by reciting poetry and Shakespeare soliloquies on the way to school. That is very cool. She graduated from Amherst College, where she dual majored in biology and Black studies. She also has a master's from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and a PhD from Cornell University. She is also a Fulbright Fellow. In her other life, she lives in the Washington, D.C. area with her family and works in international development. So she's a kind of one woman thousand, basically. Welcome, Nyani Nkrumah.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you. You may clap. I was lucky enough to get hold of a copy of the book about 10 days ago, something like 10 days ago, and I thought, well, I'm not going to have the time to read this before our reading, and actually I thought Martin was going to moderate, so when it turned out that I was going to moderate, I thought, well, let me just at least read a little bit of it, but that I had no idea how gripping it was going to be. As soon as I started, I knew I was going to finish it, and I did within about 3 or 4 days. It's an excellent novel. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really pleased that I'm the one who gets to ask the questions today. So I'd love it if we could begin with a synopsis by Nyani.
Okay, I think what I'm going to do is just read the cover of the book to tell you a little bit about what it is all about. Now, the novel is set in Mississippi in a fictitious town called Ricksville. And the key character in 1982, seen largely through the eyes of Ella, a young, mistreated, Black 11-year-old girl who lives with Leroy, who resents her, and Ma, who cannot stand to look at her. Ella's world is changed when Catherine St. James, a mysterious white researcher from Princeton, arrives in their racially divided Mississippi town. The community is immediately suspicious. What does Catherine want, and why is she really there? As tensions mount and rumors swell, and the tide swings against her, meaning against Catherine St. James, Ella and Catherine are drawn into a complicated friendship that silences out the outside world until it doesn't. And soon the relationship grows increasingly fraught as Ella unwittingly pushes against Catherine's carefully constructed boundaries that guard a complicated past with secrets that could have devastating consequences. And this story is told in alternate voices, largely to the most extent both Catherine's and Ella's.
Thank you so much, Nyani. I would actually like us to begin with the reading so that we can get a flavor of the book before we start discussing it. I remember recommending something from early on. Okay, great.
Okay, so the chapter I'm going to start reading from is chapter 3. And just to set the stage a little bit, this chapter is all about Ella. So the reader gets a chance to know, who she is and what are some of the issues that she's confronting in her life. So I'll start. Ma surely would have given me a hiding. So I left my shoes at the door and went upstairs to wash. I changed, put my dirty clothes in a bucket and gave them a good scrub on the washing board, just like Ma had taught me, before hanging them to dry on the line outside. I sat on the front steps, reluctant to head back into the steaming house. It was getting dark, and the sinking sun gave the clouds a heavenly golden red aura. I reached up and waved to God, who I could just see by his wispy beard. I didn't need a Bible or a preacher to tell me God was there. All I needed to do was to look outside, past the buildings and the roads that humans had created, to the magnificent magnolia trees that spread out on their own, branches outstretched, as though the trees were praising God. Then finally, I would look up, way up, past the clouds, past the edge of the earth, almost into the third heaven. "Hello, God," I whispered. "It's Ella again." The clouds moved, and God's mouth opened in a wide smile. I smiled back, taking in the gentle breeze and the responding rustle of the leaves. God was passing by in the wind. "Please make another day just like today," I asked silently.